So if you look at the key workers that we need to ensure have the vaccine and the people who are most at risk, what we're going to do is we're going to roll out first on the front line in health services, in ERS and in the GHA and the care agency. And at the same time, we're rolling out in respect of those who are over 70 and over 80 and who are in particular institutionally in care at ERS, or they are registered with us over that age. Those are the people who are most at risk. We're going for them first. We have to go for them first. And I hope that we'll be able to cover them in the course of the days immediately after the arrival of the vaccine.
On Sunday, you're starting to immunize healthcare workers and residents of ERS. And on Monday, you're starting with what you're describing as the community vaccination program. Who does that entail?
Remember that we have over 70s who are resident in government accommodation in blocks like Charles Bresson, Bishop Canilla, etc., and then we have over 70s who are resident in ERS, institutional care, and then we have a lot of fit and healthy over 70-year-olds who live in the community. There's an over 80-year-old who is in Parliament. We have people of that age range throughout the community, and they are also given the opportunity to come first for the purposes of receiving the vaccination in the community.
Now, last week you were describing your strategy as a one-shot immunization program, and this week you're describing it as a delayed second dose immunization program. What does the science tell us, given that the medical community is divided as to the efficacy of this approach? What does the science tell us about what percentage of immunization is received with one dose?
That the right nomenclature is the delayed second dose strategy. And as you rightly say, the advice from the medical community is divided. The United Kingdom, the NHS and the MHRA in the United Kingdom are saying that the delayed second dose strategy is the right strategy given the number of doses that are becoming available. And the WHO says you must go with the second dose in the period available. But look, there is a very clear objective reality. We have more people that need to be covered than we have doses for the double dose strategy. So we have to make a choice. It's a choice that's having to be made by the United Kingdom in the same way as it's having to be made by Gibraltar. And it makes sense because if you look at the science, it tells you that after the 21st day, if you don't administer the second vaccine, you don't go from an immunity of 90% to an immunity of 0. You've got a long period to still have that immunity, some immunity, very high immunity, 90% immunity, which is more than many vaccines give you in respect of some of the things that we vaccinate ourselves against, and then be able to bring in the second dose slightly later. No doubt this will be controversial, but we have to make a decision. We've got people that we have to protect. We have less doses than we need. Most nations in the world find themselves in exactly that situation, and we're making this decision because it's our obligation to make the decision that covers the most people. And look, it'll be on us if we get this wrong, but we are making this decision based on the best possible advice. For me, the best possible advice is the advice of the United Kingdom NHS and the MHRA in the United Kingdom.
And do you know when the second batch of vaccines is coming?
We know that we will be receiving more vaccines before the end of the month. We may end up being able to inoculate people within the 21 days in any event. Some may be inoculated after the 21 days, but well within the 12-week window where it is advisable to administer that second delayed dose.
It's been a week of lockdown. You said originally that it would be for 14 days. Do you know at this stage if you'll be extending that?
We expect that the lockdown will not be extended for one day longer than is necessary, but we don't know how long it's going to be necessary. We're starting to see what we hope will be the turning of the curve. We've seen a couple of days where numbers are slightly lower than the peak in which they'd reached. I mean, we're seeing 180 new cases a day, 172 new cases a day. Yes, because we were doing a lot of testing, but we're testing everybody who manifests at our testing center because they've been called to or because they have symptoms. So we've probably got a more accurate picture of the virus in Gibraltar than in any other country in the world because of the high prevalence of testing in the context of the per capita of the community. But until we know that that curve is coming down and until we know that it's safe, we cannot undo the lockdown. Now, I hope that in 7 days' time, I will have good news to share. We've already extended the closure of the schools to the 25th of January. So the advice seems to be that we may have to continue a little longer. We have a lot of people who are now active in our community. Look at what I told you. A third of all the cases identified in Gibraltar have been identified in the last 2 weeks.